The first two tournaments of the season were runaways.
Woo!
Impressive performances.
Yeah! Swim and Cinco, baby.
Brett Height wins by 13 pounds at Seminole.
B. Height wins the fight.
Chris Lane in a 14-pound blowout at the St. Johns River.
Yeah, baby! Pow!
Just not much in the way of drama.
Yeah, baby! Pow!
But here in the Ozarks, with Table Rock Lake serving up different conditions every day, we've got a bunch of guys still in the game. Last year's Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, Aaron Martin's on top on day one.
18-11, a brand new leader in Aaron Martin's.
Three-time Angler of the Year Mark Davis on day two.
That's what we're looking for.
And on day three, Mike McClellan takes the driver's seat.
A brand new leader in Mike McClellan with 49 pounds, 13 ounces.
But the weights are tight. The margin for error is tiny. And McClellan's got the likes of Davis, Martins, and Kevin VANDAM breathing down his neck. Truth be told, the entire final field loaded with guys who could grab the trophy.
So you make up ground right there.
No one is out of this one.
Look at that one.
Until the final fishes weigh at the A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite on Table Rock Lake.
One of the hottest young anglers in the world. From Rathdrum, Idaho, the prodigy, Brandon Polinick. And fish like that may just have done it. 16 pounds even, and Brandon Polinick takes the lead and moves into first place with 59 pounds and an ounce. 15 pounds, 13 ounces, a brand new leader in Edwin Evers. 16 pounds, 7 ounces. The Hack Attack takes the lead with 16 pounds, 7 ounces. 15 pounds, 11 ounces, a brand new leader. And Mark Davis, his incredible drive continues. You want me to bring him through? Get him up here. All right, let's bring him through. He led this deal going out on the final day. A 6-time Bassmaster winner from Bella Vista, Arkansas, Mike McClellan. Get side by side, Mark. Looking for 11 pounds, 6 ounces. 12 pounds, 2 ounces. Mike McClellan has done it. McStick sticks him again, a 7-time Bassmaster winner. Once again, tastes Elite Series victory with 61 pounds, 15 ounces. You're now a 7-time Bassmaster winner. But it's been a number of years. We've had 6 years since your last win. Is this one a little sweeter?
You know, it definitely is, due to the fact that I am here on Table Rock Lake. I mean, this is where I cut my teeth fishing. My aunt and uncle used to own a resort here on the lake, and I fished for, many years with my aunt, my uncle, my grandfather, my dad, my brothers, and now I'm carrying that tradition on with my sons. I've had a lot of good finishes here, but I've never had the opportunity to win a big one here, and it makes it much sweeter that it's a Bassmaster Elite Series.
Branson, Missouri, let me hear you. Your A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite Champion, Mike McClellan.
Well, there he is, our third champion for 2014 on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Mike McClellan, his 4th win against the toughest field in the world, and that's the Bassmaster Elite Series. Mark Zona, Tommy Sanders here with our champion, Mike McClellan. And like we said at the top of the show, Mike, the first 2 events were runaways, not much drama. Something tells me you did not have much of a runaway feeling on that last day at Table Rock.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, that was one of the toughest days I've been through in a long time, I'll have to admit it.
In fact, one thing you said after you walked down the stairs, had the trophy in your arms, you said, almost gave this one away, Z.
There's no doubt about it. And I mean, the thing about it, when you look at the field that we had at this top 12, I mean, there's always good ones. But when you look at the caliber of anglers that all made the top 12, I mean, I had them breathing down my neck. I didn't even look at the results after the 3rd day because I didn't want to know who was the closest and what was going to happen. And I just went out and fished the way I'd fished for 3 days.
But that's really the test of a good test for these anglers is you've got the best guys in the world in the top 12 there. Table Rock was a perfect place to find the best fishermen that week, right?
There's no doubt about it.
You're going to say yes. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to win, you want to beat the best. And anytime you fish the Elite Series, and when you have beaten the best. But when you look at that final day 12 field, I mean, Hackney and VANDAM and Aaron Martins, I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. Jeff Creed, I mean, it's just unreal.
Selfishly, we want to know exactly what you did. A lot of your competitors do. Will you break it down for us this hour?
That's what we're here for. I mean, it's going to get so technical, we may spin a bunch of people out before the day's up.
We might just do that. Mike is coming up. Also, the guy he just barely bested, Mark Davis, will be in the studio as well. In fact, that's coming up when we come back.
The A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite Series on Table Rock Lake is brought to you by Humminbird, Mercury, Minn Kota, and by Triton Boats.
Let's be honest, our Elite Series pros, pretty incredible at thanking their sponsors. At times, they'd probably make Ricky Bobby blush. But we decided to find out for this week's 6-second question, who is the best at it? We want you to name every single one of your sponsors in 6 seconds. Go.
Skeeter, Yamaha, Strike King, Lowrance, Castaway.
Time's up. Did good, though.
Get everybody?
Go.
I don't know. Yes, I can.
You have to name your sponsors.
Sponsors.
6 seconds, go.
Buck Knives, Rigid Industries, A.R.E. Truck Caps, GoPro, Rapala, Storm, Berkeley Havoc, Berkeley Powerbait, Berkeley
Time's up.
Styling. Dang it.
You to thank as many of your sponsors you can in 6 seconds, go.
Spiderware, Yamaha, Phoenix, Toyota. 6 seconds, it's gone.
Triton, Mercury, Trocar, Motor Guide, Livingston, Tightline.
Time's up.
Garmin.
No.
You gotta let me do that again.
Let's do it again. Let's do it one more time.
Go.
You got to say 6 seconds, go.
Zippo, Garmin, Triton, Mercury, Trocar.
Time's up. I think you did better the first time.
I did. That was pitiful.
Rigid Industries, A.R.E.
You are totally done.
Now I'm.
Does it bother you that there is 5 Yamaha employees staring at you right now and you did not mention them once?
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
Dave Mercer putting those guys on the spot so early in the morning with 6 seconds. Now out to our leader to start this 4th and final day. Mike McClellan, his last Bassmaster win was in Florida, but he's definitely an Ozarks angler.
No, Tommy, he's an Ozark stud. Exactly right. And every day this tournament, he's been starting in downtown Kimberling City, but make no bones about it, this is not his primary area. That is up the White River, where he's gone later in the day and made critical upgrades. But every day in this creek, the bait fish have been active, and he's thrown a little paddle tail swim bait. And he said the main reason he would stop here, put fish into his live well, and most of all, give him confidence when he ran up the river.
I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but this morning, see the bait working up in this area? That's the way it's been the first 2 days, and yesterday the bait had just like disappeared from here. I mean, I know they just pulled out here in the middle of the cove, but it's a big deal for them big gizzards to be moving back up here toward the bank. Fish suspended down there. I'm gonna idle us up there, Wes. Every now and then these fish, when they're suspended out here under these shad like this, you can catch them out here suspended. I've a lot of bait working out off this point where I've been catching some of my better fish this week, and ease out here and see if we can't get one of them to bite first thing this morning.
So Mike McClellan right in the middle of getting his first limit of the day together. He knows he's got to do that, and he knows at some point he's going to have to catch some bigger ones.
Exactly, but this little spot he's fishing right here in the middle of this pocket. One thing McClellan failed to talk about right there, that's actually an old sunken road bed that a lot of these fish in the morning have come off of. And McClellan said, the main thing that he has done on Table Rock this week, really try to ignore those spotted bass and smallmouth bass. He said no matter what, he said it's a gamble, but largemouth like that, he said, it doesn't look like it, but they weigh more than the other species. He said predominantly this tournament, that was his focus, and 17 of the 20 bass that he put on the scale, largemouth. From McClellan right here, going to go around the corner into Schooner Creek with Jeff Crete, and one of the only anglers in our field that said, I want dead calm water. Everybody in our top 12 said, we want wind, we want active fish. Crete said that calm water would make these fish suspend, and he said as the day would wear on, these fish that would suspend would gradually get bigger.
Like every morning, the first 2 mornings, I caught 5 in here pretty quick. Dude, if I could do that, man, and I can go and fish my other areas where I think those big ones are, they better watch it, dude. Man, they're just all over the graph down there. You never know what you're gonna catch, man. Largemouth, smallmouth, spot. Big one. This feels like a big one. It's a big one. Yes! Yeah! Heck yes, boy. Huh? That's how you make up ground right there. Yeah. Heck yes. Ooh, another one right there.
Oh, I'm talking about 2 words, and that is fired up.
Well, I guess so. Jeff Crete, the Oklahoman, who has proved to us that he knows his way around cold water in a death battle with Kevin VanDam in a very cold lake just a few years ago.
Yeah, and next to Aaron Martens, or right with Aaron Martens, Jeff Crete, one of the best fishermen there is for fish that are suspended. And those generally, on these clear water lakes, those are the hardest bass to catch that literally their cover is moving. Their cover is bait. If you remember back at Oneida, Jeff Crete followed fish the whole tournament. That's all he's done here at Table Rock.
And let's go. Our Yamaha unlocked the lake. Let's get an Ozarks guy. For sure, at least the past few years, Rick CLUNN.
Well, the number one thing is just figuring out what stage they're in. These fish are just now trying to move up. We've had a long winter, which means they're on your more vertical banks, whether that's main lake bluff banks or whether that's in your creek bluff banks. So look at those and then they want to move off those into the nearest thing they can spawn in, which may be at the end of it, a small cove or a pocket. And what that means is you're probably going to be jerking them at jerk bait and throwing a crawfish type crankbait.
Rick CLUNN unlocking the middle of these 3 White River lakes, Table Rock Lake here in Missouri. And about from just over the border in Oklahoma, here is Edwin Evers.
One of the hardest things on Table Rock is all the banks look the same. And I know this is going to sound strange, but you almost equate it to irregularities like we see in Florida, where you see 2 kinds of grass mix. Well, what goes on here, it's almost where 2 kinds of rock will mix together, like a pea gravel meeting chunk rock, or chunk rock to a bluff. Wherever that point, that intersection is, that's where these bigger largemouth came from.
Woo! Look at that one. All right.
Edwin Evers with a solid one right there, fishing down near the dam. And just around the corner from Evers, Aaron Martens.
Aaron Martens, who locked down his first Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year title right here a few years back during the course of that event. Caught the biggest fish of the tournament, a 9-pounder. And check out Aaron Martens at this tournament, an 8-pounder for the Carhartt Big Bass at this Table Rock event.
It's almost like they're not biting very good though. I mean, typically by now I should have 3 or 4 bites. It's been a half hour, I think, since we launched. Yeah. So maybe it'll be tough for a while. And that front's coming in later. It could be, it could really turn on. That's a really nice one there. Oh, look how he ate that bait. Yeah, that's a good starter fish.
Well, Aaron Martens, who started this tournament on fire, 18 pounds and 11 ounces for the lead on day number 1, starts his day today about 4 pounds back of our leader. But hey, anything can happen. At this top 12, we can't stress it enough how strong it is. There's another big star in here, Greg Hackney.
Oh, exactly. Naughty little grizzly bear, Greg Hackney. He has been cranking the entire tournament. He's really just outside of Indian Creek. He's been alternating really 3 crankbaits this whole tournament. If you look at that bank right there, number 1, big love to the Marshal, getting us a little GoPro footage right here. He said the same thing, wherever pea gravel and chunk rock mixed, that's where he would catch those better than average size bass.
Greg Hackney starting his day about 5 pounds back of Mike McClellan. If you do the math, I mean, the biggest fish caught here, we just saw it, 8 pounds by Aaron Martins. If you're within 8 pounds of this leader, and that's including just about everyone in the top 12, we got plenty more action to come on this lake where no one is out of it. What's going on with the rest of these guys, including Mark Davis, who has been so strong through this tournament, our leader, Mike McClellan. He's feeling the heat throughout this final day. You can count on that.
Stroke some of them, you get back in the hunt, boys.
A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite event on Table Rock Lake. Third event of the season for the Bassmaster Elite Series, and we are watching the action from the fourth and final day when Mike McClellan right there started with the lead, a lead of about 4 pounds. Certainly not enough against the top 12 in the field, who he was up against some great names in the sport. One of the true locals here is Brian Snowden, been fishing here for a long time. He tells us what works on this lake, and of course it's probably one of those baits you're thinking about.
You know, this is really typical of what it used to be prior or before the Alabama rig, you know, the 18 to 20 pound range. You know, knowing the umbrella rig and knowing places that I catch a lot of big fish on the umbrella rig, it kind of affected my practice. You know, I really tried to do a lot of things with swim baits, but I just couldn't make a single lure work as effective. Even some of those, you know, 2 to 3 ounce off-spray swim baits, get them down there 20, 30 feet, they still wouldn't fire like they do on the multi-rig bait.
Well, that one's not in the equation here as we go from Brian Snowden to our Diet Mountain Dew breakthrough move. Kevin VANDAM from day 2 to day 3 is the owner of that.
Saturdays have not gone well for me, and finally I had a good Saturday. So, I mean, you look at the standings and a pound is 15 places, 2 pounds, you know, I mean, I was in 37th going into today, and I was 3 pounds from the top 12, and I went from 37th to 3rd. Been a while since I've been here on Sunday, and I'm gonna tell you, it feels good. I mean, this is a lake that I know how to catch them here. I know what I need to do. And after the first 2 days, as many fish as I'd caught, and to be where I was at, 37th in the standings, I was bummed. You know, we'll see what we can make happen today. I didn't come to play, I came to win. There's one. He's pulling pretty good. Keeper, I guess. Gosh.
Kevin VANDAM with a very slow start this season, but this one's making up for it a good bit. He's definitely a big part of the scene here. Now over to Jared Lintner. What a great 2014 he is having. Definitely a big part of this Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year race.
Looking at Lintner right here up the White River, and actually he got some of these baits from McClellan, throwing a wiggle wart. So many of the anglers, if you really think about this area of the country, that is one of the most dominant baits there's ever been. You can ask a lot of the old school crankers. They say the old ones are the best ones. You could get them for 80 to 100 bucks on eBay, but Lintner has lived with that crankbait back down the lake to Kimberling. You look at McClellan right here, and something kind of going on with McClellan on this 4th day that we saw early in the morning is McClellan was getting a lot of bites, catching a lot of bass, but a lot of them either barely touched or they were non-keepers. The big fish that he caught on days 2 and 3, they did not show up on day 4.
The thing that's unique about this particular area is most of the bait in here is big gizzard shad. And anytime you get in an area that's got a lot of big gizzards, I mean, the opportunity to catch a big one is definitely there. I just think they're moving around a bunch, you know, it's one of them deals. I mean, they get around these certain docks, but I think wherever that bait goes is where the fish want to be. There we go.
Mike McClellan again started this day with a 4-pound lead over his closest competitor. He did in no way feel comfortable with that, and he said many times before this thing even got started, he said, I got to have a big one in the mix somewhere on this final day. And as the day wears on, he's getting more and more anxious about the fact that he doesn't have one yet.
Well, big bite on Table Rock, critical throughout the entire week. Now over to Kevin Hawk, and Kevin Hawk, over really the last year and a half on the Bassmaster Elite Series, has proven he is strong in clear water. Look at what he did last year up on the St. Lawrence River, won the FLW championship on Lake Lanier. Dude can catch him in clear water, and he's been jerkbaiting, throwing a football head jig in this tournament. And the great thing about Table Rock, you can catch anything here: spotted bass, largemouth, smallmouth bass, and really, we've seen this week that the only thing that really has outdistanced a lot of anglers is one big largemouth, but very solid smallmouth right there for Kevin Hawk.
Kevin Hawk started this week pretty slow, 10 pounds on day number 1, but made the big jump with 16 plus on day number 2. Over to second place, Aaron Martins.
Check this out. There's a fish right there. Look at that. 1, 2. 2 different fish. I might go back to that one, see if I can catch him. I don't know how big he is. I wish there was a method or something to this. I'm doing well, you know, there's no certain method to catch a bigger one. This is it. You can cover more water and bigger fish will eat the jerkbait better than I mean, they'll eat it better than a swim bait or something. Unless conditions are right. It's not, it's a little cold for a swim bait. Slow too. That's not a big one. Oh, that's a nice one. Sick fish. Look at that thing. I haven't seen a fish like that in this lake. Ugh.
And throughout the week, the hardest thing in this event was staying with the fish. Really, all 4 days you had pre-front, front, then cold front with no wind, and now you're starting to get a gradual warm-up. Every angler said they had to move with the fish.
That was Aaron Martins, of course, our Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year last year, and look at him right in the thick of it. Again this year, third place behind Jared Lintner, and look at Mark Davis, though. Mark Davis really outpacing this field at this point, and we are early on in the season. We see Chris Lane in there on the strength of his win down in Florida. Todd Faircloth is always in the mix, and Greg Hackney sneaking up there as well. But Mark Davis, who has refused to finish below the top 3, not just this year, but starting in the last event last year, and there's his weapon.
And he has done one thing this entire tournament. He's been throwing a Rage Menace grub, and the deal with this grub, it's very subtle. He's been throwing on a little quarter-ounce jig head or a swing head like we've seen Tommy Biffle do so many times. And what he said was, well, he figured out these fish would bite this thing. He literally would go behind other anglers and catch them right behind his competition.
Bring out a little bit heavier artillery. This is what it's been all week for me right here, this lure. Strike King Menace, green pumpkin on a 1/2 ounce swing head and 17 pound Invis cigar line, and just that's great because you can fish it in clear water, and it's a finesse type lure and technique, but you're fishing relatively heavy tackle, so it's a little more like power fishing. That's a good one. That's a good one. Whew. That's what we're looking for. See what I'm talking about? All them little ones, and then boom, 4-pounder. First cast with it.
And Mark Davis in a tournament where really almost every top competitor throwing a jerkbait and a crankbait, you totally steered away from it.
I did, and I'm a crankbait guy, and but I hit upon this little technique where I'm swimming that Menace grub on a swing head on the bottom and using heavy casting equipment in that. I mean, I tried it just for a few hours at home, and it worked so well, I thought, man, they're gonna bite this at Table Rock, and they did.
Just kind of walk me through, number one, how you were working that bait, because you were not catching 10 bass a day, you were catching dozens of keepers.
Yeah, it was a 100 bite a day technique.
Say that again?
100 bite per day technique. And sometimes even more. I mean, how long can you stay out there is how many bass you can catch on it. But here's the technique, Mark. Long cast, 17-pound fluorocarbon line, and when it hits the bottom, you want to try to throw it in, 6, 7, 8 feet of water. Don't throw it right on the bank because you're going to hang up 6, 7, 8 feet and just turn the reel handle slow.
These areas you were in, I thought the most telling thing was that little crawdad that came in your boat.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually saw a lot of those throughout the week. You catch a fish, they'd spit crawfish up. Yeah, it was I think those fish had never seen the Menace. That was a big part of it.
And that's one thing that amazed me. You said you purposely went behind guys that were cranking to check that technique?
I did in practice. I'd see a guy, and the fishing was great all over the lake, but you would see a guy cranking a crankbait on a good area, and then, yeah, I'd go right in behind him, and boom, 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 and I'm thinking, man, I got something special right here.
You've done this for a long time. How cool is it in this day and time to be throwing a bait nobody else was throwing in that field?
It is cool. I mean, especially, I tend to be set in my ways because, you know, I've done it for years. I'm usually the guy over cranking, force feeding them a crankbait. Man, to have something that no one else is using is great. I mean, I can't tell you how special that is.
I can promise you one thing, they've seen a lot of them since then.
I bet they have.
How about that Mark Davis and the real nitty-gritty about how he caught him at Table Rock, and boy, did he catch him. In fact, wait till later in this show. Zona and I decided to give him a phone call while he was out there fishing on the final day, and the video will be unbelievable. You can't wait to see that, I promise you. We know you catch them too, and we want more evidence of that. Hashtag big catch, like Isaac Bivens in there, weather notwithstanding. Big largemouth bass. Hashtag big catch. Let us hear from you. We're going to hear from Mike McClelland, our champion, when we come back.
The A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite Series on Table Rock Lake is brought to you by Nitro. Toyota. And by Berkley.
This is it, the A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite Series from Table Rock Lake in Branson, Missouri. Definitely one of the most beautiful fishing lakes you will ever visit in your life, and some beautiful fish in there. How about those big fat spotted bass here? That one comprising our Evan Williams shot of the day.
Shot of the day of the week. Mike McClelland fishing in Kimberling, back down the lake to the dam, and Kevin VANDAM just says he's comfortable on this lake. Very clear water, like he grew up fishing in Michigan. And he said he chased wind the entire week looking for active fish. He said his biggest problem, knowing way too much on this lake.
There he is. Good one. Big spot. Good spot. That's a fat.
Kevin VANDAM hard at work on day number 4. This whole place got super energized at the weigh-in. Day number 3 when Kevin VANDAM came off a 12-pound day 2 and brought in 19.7 on day number 3. Cliff Prince, who's made a few changes during the course of this event as well.
Yeah, he's made some changes. He started whaling them after day number 1, and Cliff Prince fishing up the river. And Cliff Prince really, he said he had to get away from a lot of the crowds. If you look at his day 1 stringer, just under 10 pounds, look where he went from there. Almost 20 pounds of bass with a giant here on day number 4. I guarantee you, Cliff Prince is looking at this footage, happy he's looking at it, catching a big one right here. But this is a tournament that got away from him. Cliff Prince, if he would have had just a solid first day, he would have blown this tournament away.
Woo! Yes, sir! Hell yeah, boy! Now we moving somewhere. Now that's a freaking cool.
Cliff Prince, who really couldn't get it done in his home waters here in Florida, always comes up here to these White River things and does a great job.
And up the lake right now with Mike McClelland, leaving Kimberling City, and get ready in Wolfpen Hollow. It's where you put your kids when they misbehave. McClelland knows he catches a bunch here.
Basically, I mean, every day about this time I've been running up this way. I mean, this area of the lake seems like, I mean, just to catch a number of fish and a lot of keepers, it seems to be on better than where we started down there around Kimberling. But I've caught quality fish down at Kimberling every day, and today it just didn't happen. I mean, this is where I caught my biggest one yesterday, just inside on this secondary point. So I'm gonna just start covering a lot of water, throwing a jerkbait, throwing a crankbait, and hopefully we will run across some big ones before too awful long. Just need some big ones, man. Need some big ones.
Big ones. He keeps saying big ones. A lot of anxiety for him on that final day because he figures everyone else is getting the big ones.
Exactly, and he's starting to run around a little bit, and this is the part of the tournament, literally, that anybody was in one bite of McClellan.
Pretty good one. It's not a 4 or 5, but it's a nice one. There we go, that's better. That's what we need right there.
Boy, he did need that.
Absolutely. He was stressing on that one all day long. All throughout that day, it was an anxiety-filled experience for Mike McClelland on his way to the victory. Now, how about Bill Lowen with his best tournament of the year so far? Did not start out that way. 11.5 pounds on day 1, but he bumps it up to 14, then up to 18 on day number 3, and Bill Lowen's got it going on.
And Lowen doing something totally different from the rest of the anglers, fishing almost as far up Long Creek as you can go, fishing a little flat-sided crankbait, very shallow water, and he's at a very solid turn. Almost every time we come here, Bill Lowen makes a showing on Table Rock.
Bill Lowen, who very used to slim pickings on these fishing waters coming from the Ohio River area, loves to come to these places where he can really, really catch them. Brandon Polinick starting his day down in 9th place, no doubt in his mind that he could get the job done on this final day, and he fished like it all day long.
Definitely did. GoPro strapped all over him, and really cool how he caught him in this tournament. He would find brush piles with his bow sonar, his bow 360, and stay off of these brush piles in 10 to 20 feet of water. He said almost every one of his big largemouth, that is the exact way he caught them all week long.
Yeah. That's more like it.
Here's something for you. How good was the fishing for Mark Davis? We'll check out this point at which we called him on day 4. Mark Davis here, a leader after 2 days, and of course, still very much in the hunt to start this 4th and final day. And Mark, everything you're finding to your liking, nothing's changed. The fish seem to be there, right?
Fishing's great. I mean, I've caught so many of them swimming my little Menace this morning, and now I've picked up a 3XD crankbait, catching them on it. Wind's blowing, fish are biting. All is good. I just need a big one.
Hey, Mark, if you can, walk us through your technique throughout this entire week, your main technique.
Oh, I had one. My main technique has been a Menace on a little swing head. There's fish right here, guys.
Beautiful.
Oh, he come off.
Oh.
I lost him. I've made another cast. I'm back with you.
All right.
You know, fishing a typical pre-spawn pattern, little rock points and ledges going into spawning pockets, swimming it for the most part, and sometimes dragging it. There's another one. I'm on a little sweet spot here. This is, we're talking, this is a big old spotted bass. He won't help me. And see, this is the kind of fish here that I'm catching, but you know, those aren't helping me right now. Now that's a 16-inch spot. And I lost about a 17-inch largemouth on the cast before that. So, you know, fishing's good, real good. Couldn't ask for it really to be any better, but I'm to the point I've got to have a 2 3/4 to 3 pound fish to, oh, I had another one, to help.
Mark, you've caught a big largemouth. Days 1 and 2, you've had that bonus, that big Table Rock largemouth. Are those big largemouth mixed right in there with the spots?
They're all mixed together, and I'm getting a bite every cast right now. And yes, they're all mixed together, smallmouth, largemouth, and spots.
You told me yesterday there are no issues with replenishing on these fish anywhere along that 10-mile stretch or so you talked about working. Man, this place is just full of fish. This is an amazing fishery.
Oh, it's a great fishery. And then we've hit it just right. There's another one, guys. This might be a good one.
It's a circus.
This is the best phoner we've ever had.
I know.
This could be a good one. I can't tell just yet.
We're just going to sit and watch for a little bit. Mark, obviously you put in your homework here, and obviously people don't need to poke the bear too much. Anyone who suggested that you were a little past your prime in the fishing world kind of got smacked back to the back of the bus really quick.
Yesterday, and he didn't want to say this, Mark Davis made the comment you did after the weigh-in yesterday. You're a little bit mad at the fish right now.
There's one. That'll help. Man, it's hard to talk to you guys when they're biting this good. I'll be honest with you, man.
I would completely ignore us right now, Mark.
It's never easy to talk to us.
Since we have started this conversation, I have had a bite on every cast.
What a fishing day for Davis. Just amazing stuff, and what a field on this final day at Table Rock Lake. Look at them all up and down the top 12, all trying to catch Mike McClellan win the prize. They would not do it, but man, what a day we had.
Man, I thought that fish was bigger than it was when I first saw it flash out there.
Final day championship day of the A.R.E. Truck Caps Table Rock Lake Bassmaster Elite event, and all these anglers, these top 12, a strong 12, trying to catch Mike McClellan, including Kevin VanDam, who had a fantastic day number 3 in sunny skies, trying to make it work with overcast.
Right, he said late in the day on day 3 is when he started to see those bigger fish ignite on his jerkbait, and he said the later the day got, the bigger the largemouth were throughout this whole week.
There's a big one. If that's a bass, that's what it might be, a catfish or something. It's rolling. Good one. That's a big one for this lake. Yes, that'll work. That's a good call. Finally, better than average. That's a good call. Yeah, well, that's better. The old jerk and snatch.
From Kevin VanDam over to the man he held off on the final day of the Bassmaster Classic a few years ago on Lay Lake, Jeff Crete.
Jeff Crete, he has not forgot about that. He lived all morning long up in Schooner Creek and saved Cow Creek for late in the day, not getting a lot, but they were the right ones.
Pretty small right there. Pretty good one. Might call. If I quit breaking off and chill out, man, I can make this deal happen, you know. It's a pretty good one. It's not a bad one. Usually when I see they're brown, I get disappointed because they haven't weighed very much. But
A decent call for Crete right there. Back up the White River right now with Mike McClellan. And one other naughty little trick that he had going in this tournament is he said wherever there was deeper bushes, not pole timber like this, but if you look at the bank over his right-hand shoulder, he said wherever you found deeper bushes, those bigger ones were right outside of them.
It's the kind of places they're supposed to be. Sure would like to catch a 5 or 6 pounder. Make me feel a whole heck of a lot better. I mean, they got to start biting at some point today. That's a big one. Come on, darling. Come on. Giant. It's better than something we got. Sure felt bigger than that. Man, I thought that fish was bigger than it was when I first saw it flash out there.
And you said, looking at this animation right here, for anybody that's watching at home, this was the exact kind of rock that you were hunting.
That was the big key at Table Rock, and it always is this time of the year. There's a lot of different variations of gravel, rock, fist-sized rock, white ledge rock, but the key to me has always been at Table Rock to find this black, nasty, what I call lava rock. It's not always visible on the bank, but the advantage I had was the fact that I've lived on the lake for years. I've fished it since I was that tall.
30 years of knowing where lava
and
rock
I
is.
know where lava rock is.
And you said looking at this, you feel this is exactly how they would set up in the little cracks of it.
There's no doubt in my mind. There's days that the sun's shining and the water's clear enough that you would swear there's no way a bass could be there. And you'll throw that, crankbait or stickbait up in that shallow rock and be winding it, and just from nowhere, I mean, one just darts out. So I really believe they get down in that rock, and I think the big key about it is the warmth.
And when you were fishing this lava-style rock, really there was a 1-2 punch that you used almost the entire week.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, it was just a combination of a bunch of different baits that got me through the week.
You use 3 different baits. You use a swim bait every now and then, but this was a crankbait, jerkbait deal.
There's no doubt about that. And the thing about it was I could catch them on all 3 baits in the same areas, depending on the depth the fish set up. The crankbait was definitely a bait that I could pick up and just cover water and find little sections that they were in. A lot of times, I would back off and throw a jerkbait after I had cranked through a section, different things to mix it up. The 115, that's where it really came into play, was that really shallow lava rock. The 110 was a bait that I threw the first 2 days almost exclusively until I realized how shallow those fish had gotten. And that's what made the difference, was mixing it up during the week.
And going through a lot of your catches right now, Bud, you were hunting largemouth. You were not looking for the other 2 species in this lake.
And that's the thing that I've learned about Table Rock over the years. For years, I loved to catch smallmouth and spotted bass so much that I would get hung up on them. And you'd get in at the end of the day and you'd have a 12, 14 pound stringer, smallmouth and spots, and you'd always get your butt kicked with somebody having, 1 or 2 good largemouth. And over the years, I've learned why I didn't catch largemouth, and I know where they live now, and that's the ones I go hunt at Table Rock.
So many guys that were in our top 12, in our top 50, man, let's face it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Throwing wiggleworts, you always hear, oh, the older ones are better, the older ones are better. Why is that bait so dominant in this region of the country? Because you never hear, well, I crushed them in South Carolina on a wigglewort. You hear it every now and then, but that part of the country, that bait is the #1 thing you better have when you go to those lakes.
And I don't know that I can explain it 100% because, we've tried to figure out the real reason, but it's just a bait I think so many people have confidence in. There's other crankbaits they'll bite. But there's something about that bait that's just a no-lose situation when you tie it on.
All right, thanks so much, guys. It wasn't easy, but Mike McClellan did it. He figured it out and beat literally the best in the business on the final day to win at Table Rock. Now, do you like Mike McClellan for the next event, Toledo Bend? Well, if you're a believer in momentum, you sure do. How about momentum and Mark Davis? Certainly you're going to pick him for Toledo Bend. And some of the other guys from the final day, VANDAM, Aaron Martins, maybe putting together a plan for who's going to do well at Toledo Bend, our next stop on the Bassmaster Elite Series. Well, let's just get in the game. Let's go to BassmasterFantasy.com. Very, very easy to get started, and you may find yourself on top at the end of it all. Coming up, we'll break it all down one more time and wrap it up from Table Rock Lake as we return.
The A.R.E. Truck Caps Bassmaster Elite Series on Table Rock Lake is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, Yamaha, Skeeter Boats, and by Bass Pro Shops.
How about it one more time? Hats off to Mike McClellan. He starts off day 1 in 12th place, moves it up to 4th place, and then has the lead going into the final day and beats some of the most vicious competition you would ever encounter in any bass fishing tournament ever to win the championship on Table Rock Lake. And Mark Zona, you've got, 4 times now a winner on the Bassmaster Elite Series. No doubt about it. McClellan is a top echelon guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want you to look at really our Elite Series season so far. You look at Brett Height at Seminole, Chris Lane at the St. Johns River, and now Mike McClellan here at Table Rock. These are some of the best closers in the game. If they smell it, they are going to slam the door in your face. And the other thing about Mike McClellan, we have covered every one of his Elite Series wins. The scary thing about McClellan is when he gets that ball rolling.
Oh, yeah.
You hear from him a little bit, then you don't hear anything, but when he makes some fireworks, look out for what's coming next.
Watch out. The competition's so great at this event there. And something you pointed out on the first day of the tournament, I didn't fully understand. You said you watched there is going to be a world of difference between a 12-pound limit and a 13-pound limit.
Yeah, what goes on Table Rock, and it's one of the hardest things in the world, is to, when you catch a 2.5 to a 2 3/4 pound bass at Table Rock, you better get the heck out of that area. Because unfortunately, if you don't scare that 3-pound mark, you're going to find yourself down in the 40s and 50s, and it's one of the hardest things to do. Guys like Davis, you look at Aaron Martins and McClellan in his tournament, to get in areas of the lake and say, I'm going to fish for bigger fish and risk doing worse.
All right, those are real players. What great competition. Thanks again to Mike McClellan and Mark Davis as well. Two great ones.
Great tournament.
Next time, we got it coming up, Toledo Bend. Looking forward to that one. And of course, before that, our AutoZone Winning Ways show. We'll take a look at the first 3 events of the year. Please join us for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, it's hard to talk to you guys when they're biting this good. I'll be honest with you.
12 pounds, 2 ounces. Mike McClellan has done it. Your A.R.E. Truck Cab Bassmaster Elite Champion, Mike McClellan.